Hello everyone, it's me again. Just last week I published a review of the new Samyang AF 35mm f1.4 FE, an autofocus lens only for Sony's E-mount cameras, and it tested extremely well. I was only able to try it out on an APS-C camera at the time, but now that I've got my hands on a full frame camera, a Sony a7r II, which is fantastic by the way, let's see how the lens performs on that much bigger full frame sensor. The a7r II has a very challenging 42 megapixel sensor. I've turned on in camera corrections for this test. At f1.4, in the middle of the image, we see excellent sharpness and contrast. Over in the corners, the image isn't quite as punchy, but it's still very sharp. We can also see a little colour fringing here. Stop down to f2 for a little more sharpness in the corners, and f2.8 for excellent sharpness there. At f4, those corners are razor sharp, although we're still seeing just a touch of colour fringing. The lens remains this sharp down to f11. Only at f16 do we see a very slight softening due to the effect of diffraction. So it's plain to see that the Samyang AF 35mm f1.4 FE is sharp enough to make itself at home even on a very high resolution full frame camera. It is a very high performance optic. Now let's take a look at distortion and vignetting on full frame. If you turn off in camera corrections or shoot in RAW, then you will see that the lens projects some noticeable barrel distortion, about average for a wide-angle lens. At f1.4, image corners are quite dark, unsurprisingly. Stop down to f2 and they brighten, and at f2.8, vignetting is no longer really a problem. But if you turn on in camera corrections, then even at f1.4, distortion and vignetting will be taken care of for you quite nicely. So, while the distortion and vignetting characteristic of this lens is fairly average, its resolution and contrast certainly is not. Along with the lens's quite accurate autofocus system, this means you'll be getting fantastically sharp images whatever aperture you're shooting at. It's a huge pleasure to shoot with this lens on a full frame camera, and so I can still highly recommend it.